In this episode, I talked to Kai Frazier, who started a business that brings VR experiences into classrooms for underserved students called Curated by Kai. Hey, what's up, everybody? My name is John Slagstag. I'm the host of the Work Talk podcast, where I'm talking to people in the Bay Area about their work, what they do, what they know. Excited to have Kai on today. What's up, Kai?
Hey, John, thanks for having me. So I have a brand new startup. My background is education. I've been teaching. I've been in the classroom working with students for about 15 years. And then I worked with museums for about 3 years. And one of the things that was the most frustrating was my students could not afford to visit the free museums in DC. And the museums in Washington, DC, where I worked, rarely had programs that reached out to a lot of the Black and brown kids that I used to teach. So I made my startup, which is Curated by Kai, and I find the diverse and inclusive, the representative exhibitions, monuments, memorials, and I film them in 360 for virtual reality. And then we bring it directly back to the students who may not ever get to visit those things.
I want to show the audience, if they're watching YouTube, a few videos that you've got.
So that's actually my very first school that I taught at. Yeah. And this group is really interesting because these are my dreamers, my English language learners. So we took them on a VR field trip to the Martin Luther King Jr. Memorial in Washington, DC. And we adapted it so it was in, kids could hear the I Have a Dream speech in English and in Spanish. So they will actually get to learn something for once. I taught a lot of kids who English is not their first language, and it's really unfortunate how they could never really participate in class.
I want to show them now a clip of one of your 360 experiences. This is the Obama portraits one.
Yes.
Hey everyone, my name is Kai.
You may have to go into a minute in to actually see the portraits. I try to give enough time so kids can get adjusted to being in VR and looking around before we hit them with the portraits.
Which highlights those who fought for civil rights.
How was it even filming this?
This was my first time I had a professional film crew come out to help. And the interesting thing is, because VR is such a new space, I guess I was thinking they were going to come in and do something completely different that I wasn't capable of doing. And they pretty much did what I could have did. So it was kind of reassurance that we're on the right path as far as filming goes. And it was a pretty simple experience. I don't know if you're familiar with filming, but when you film, like, you can have everybody on one side of you watching the filming. But with VR, the rule is if you can see the camera can see you. So it's like everybody is running, darting around corners frame for the camera. So it's and then when you film, it's nice to have like a producer or somebody next to you to kind of help you along. But with VR, you're kind of on your own. So that's the only downside I don't like to filming in VR.
So when you were filming it, were people hiding behind walls and stuff?
Yeah, because they cannot, they're right behind the walls and they're trying to find the nooks to hang into. My last job, I worked at a museum, and Google Maps and the Google Street View came to film the museum, and the museum was about 4 levels, and it was just a 2-hour experience of us running behind corners trying not to get shots. And I made it into 2 shots on accident, but they were just sick of me at that point.
Nice. So yeah, listeners, I was just playing one of the videos, the 360 experience videos, and you could find all of it on her YouTube page. You could find it on Curated by Kai. That's Curated X Kai, Kai. What are some of the reactions from the students who you've done this VR experiences with?
It depends. If it's now that I'm doing things I'm showing DC sites to kids in California, I'm getting a different reaction because these things are not readily accessible to them. I've had some kids who, if they're doing an underwater experience, they want to dive on the floor. I've had some kids put a headset on and try to walk out the door. I've seen a lot of weird things. But my favorite reaction is, I'm used to working with students who are a little bit older. So I do 7th through 12th grade. So when I work with small kids, about like 1st through 3rd grades, they keep wanting to share the experience together. So like they'll have the headset, and it'll be like 3 kids all trying to look in the headset. And it's like, you can't do that. But it makes me think, maybe I do need to make something that can be a multi-view thing, because clearly they want to share, and why should I discourage these kids from sharing?
So, you just showed your device. Is that something you created within your own organization? You partnered with a different
I want
company?
to. I hope very soon I can create my own hardware, because what's happening, like, this is probably, and these are just little cheap ones I found on Amazon, because for the students, I want to make sure it is low cost as possible, because there is, there's not a lot of money going around for these schools. So this is my favorite because it has a little piece here that you can plug into your phone. So the headphones are already here. So that's why I carry those adapters on me, because some of them don't have headphone jacks. So so all they need to do is put their phone inside of it, they close it up, and they can hear it. And this is about $25 of Amazon.
Are you sponsored with that company, or you just buy them on Amazon?
I just buy them on Amazon, and then we'll start to, hopefully within the next year, start producing hardware. That's where we get into scaling. Like when I came out to Silicon Valley, I was like, oh, I'm using this from Amazon, and they're like, no, build it. And I've never heard anybody say that. I was like, oh my God, what? So now I'm looking into that and see what that would entail, because a lot of these headsets, they're great, but they have like controls, different pieces. In the classroom, you can't have controllers and stuff. And then even the fact that you can move, the kid still has to move around, but with 30 kids, a lot of, it's just a lot. It's like, what can be built to work with a realistic classroom that we're seeing right now, especially with all the teacher walkouts and protests. They don't have a lot of money. So like even the minimum viable product for this is a 360 video. So even if they can't have a headset, they can still put the 360 video on a smart board, turn it around, talk about it. So just making sure we're thinking about all the challenges I had in the classroom, and making sure that I'm building the resource I wish I could have had in the classroom.
Yeah. So let's talk about the business part of it. So you're trying to scale. What were some specific strategies or action items that's on your list?
Sure. So right now, the biggest action item I have is I thought I was going to build this whole thing and people were going to come in and use it. It was going to be great. And then when I started testing, I realized that teachers could barely use their cell phones for education, let alone work a VR experience.
I know what you mean. Yeah. A lot of teachers or people in education I talk to aren't always the most tech savvy, but their students are. So there's like that gap.
But we're doing training. So this summer we're starting webinars, in classroom trainings, teacher trainings, and hopefully I can get into some professional development days at schools. The school year starts back, and just getting people very familiar with, being early adopters of the technology, because we don't have many people that are doing that in a classroom setting. So I'm hoping I can get people trained on it, and then get teachers to commit to using 3 of our VR experiences during the school year. So we're doing one, which is the Obama portrait, so they can use that for contemporary stuff, Black History Month, however teacher wants to use it. The MLK Memorial one can be used in different ways. And then I have another one that I'm trying to pull off this summer to highlight current events. So if those 3 can be used, that would be phenomenal. And then we are also building an app, so this can be easily put onto iPads, iPhones, because what's happening, in classrooms, you just can't like YouTube is usually blocked if you're on a school Wi-Fi. If you try YouTube on the computer's usually blocked, Facebook's blocked. So people are making these things like, oh, just go to Facebook. Well, kids can't go to Facebook in the classroom. So just trying to make sure that we are planning for all those unique challenges in a diverse classroom.
So you're also doing hardware, but also looking to build your own app too. So you've got a whole team of people helping you with that, or looking to?
I have the next step? Of operations, that's my COO, and I have my chief technology officer who actually did the technology with me when we worked in the museums in DC. So we were both those people at the museums who were trying to break everything. So now we are working together to break education, and hopefully we'll come out with some good things from it. I launched this company late November, basically December. So by late February, we've been picked for South by Southwest. I thought I was going to have more time to go. I've never had my own business. So I'm learning everything on the fly right now. I'm doing the port forma is my new term, or the profit and losses, and just getting all the numbers. Luckily, my best friend who just moved here, she's an accountant, so hopefully I can pick her brain a little bit as we get into this stuff. But it's been a lot of scaling, a lot of research, and just a lot of adapting and pivoting for our audience.
Yeah, now you're getting a lot of attention, a lot of work. Now it's the scaling part.
It's almost a deterrent. It's kind of scary to me. The worst thing I would want is like a lot of attention on the product and no product.
Yeah.
So
I would say
I've
that's a
tried.
good problem to have because some people don't even have any attention.
Yeah, they have the great stuff. So I'm like, no, I want to make sure that I'm very well rounded on that. And that, so it's funny. I've had people reach out for different media stores, and I'm like, no, we're just gonna wait. Let me wait. I'm like, trainings and get this stuff set up because that will kill you too. Like getting too much money too fast and getting too much press too fast are things that will, hinder your growth.
Yeah, I could see how you could get motivated because all these expectations now are on you. It's like, okay, now I gotta
Like,
get some stuff
but
done.
it's really cool. You should check back with me in 1 week. I had a really amazing opportunity present itself, and I started on Saturday, and it's so good I can't even talk about it, but I can next week. So you should check back up, and that's going to be extremely helpful because right now it's just making good partnerships. Because people are doing VR. I just don't think for VR, the thing that was setting to me was that everybody has in their mind it's this nice gaming platform. It will do like it's amazing things, realistic games, and there's other extensions for it too, like for augmented and virtual reality. But I don't think anybody took the time to think about what it could mean for like Black and Brown communities, and it got kind of like completely jumped over us. So it's trying to like bring that train back and try to examine what it can do for exposure.
Right, right. And talk about scaling. What specifically are you trying to do? Like, get funding to hire more people?
So right now, I would love to have funding to hire more people. Right, but I'm also having to order headsets to sell headsets myself because most people when they do the training they need a headset. So just trying to get that together, and then also a lot of the money is to film. The filmings, if I'm doing it myself with me and my camera, it's maybe I spend about oh god, let's say 5,000 on the good side just to
Yeah,
go through filming, the editing, just making sure everything's up, putting it on the app, just doing all this stuff. But it's a lot of work. So, and this is for like really, like if you're filming in a museum, that's just me and my camera. But when we start filming, like the next one I want to film is an underwater a museum that's off of Spain, and it's an underwater museum that puts a spotlight on the refugee crisis. So it's like different scenes, but it's all underwater where they're crossing. So that is a
that's
lot. I mean, we
awesome.
talk like producer, technical stuff, grips, like it's a team. So funding, I would love to see the different things we can do with cameras and directing and producing with actual money.
Right. You got a lot of stuff to do. You got
Right?
filming, you've got things
Bootstrap.
like
What
partnerships.
happens if I have money?
I was talking to someone who listens to my podcast, and he's looking to start his own nonprofit. And he had questions about funding, and I told him I would ask you, like, how do you go about doing that?
So this is weird. So we're trying to be a hybrid, so a LLC and a nonprofit. For the LLC, it would be a lot of donations to do things like pay for scholarships of kids to go into museum studies. One of the things I didn't even begin to talk about is like in art museums. The last statistics said that it is like 4% blacks that are in professional roles in art museums and like 6% Hispanic and like 3% Pacific Islander, I think. Like, but it's nobody telling our own history. We don't have the power of the pen for this stuff. So I want to put
Hmm.
aside kids can actually get degrees to preserve their history and things like that. But the thing is, at the startup world, it's money, money. How are you gonna get to your first billion? So nobody wants to hear nonprofit from me. So it's been very hard to kind of mesh the two together. So I have my LLC in DC, and now I'm starting up my nonprofit to be California based and going through LegalZoom and getting all the paperwork done. And it's gonna fall out on donations.
Oh, got it. So primarily donations, not like a huge grant or like.
Yeah, well, grants too, grants and grant writing, yes, but yeah, it will be donations and grants. A lot of like I just sit and try to apply to grants all day. I have to bring on an assistant to copy and paste my blurbs for grants because all I'm doing is sitting down and I can't do everything.
Yeah. Is
So
there like a website you go to find grant opportunities? 'Cause that's
no, I need to. I try to set up Google Alerts for me, but I literally in a week I may get 10 to 15 people sending me something, and it's very helpful, but it's also very overwhelming because I can't get to everything, and I feel like a lot of things are falling through the cracks. And then for me, I mean, I think I'm kind of different with this grant writing stuff, because once I put down what I'm doing on paper, it sounds like a fantasy. So I don't think I do very well with grants. They don't know what I'm talking about. So I have to do some more work to find the very specific VR, AR type of grants now.
What's a specific action item that you're planning to do next?
That's a good question. So the thing that I am working on for this weekend is to set up these webinars. So I have the hosting. I was trying to decide whether I do like Google Hangouts, whether I do YouTube Live, and I decided to do Facebook Live, and I'll talk about that later. But so I'm going to do Facebook Live for it, setting up. There's different software that you can use to kind of make it look really nice. So I'm just trying to make sure that the appearance is nice for it. I have to set up the email captures for when they register for it. I can get all the emails to follow up with them. And then I have to make sure that my emails go out to them to say like, hey, thanks for registering for this. Here's a follow-up. And then making sure that if they want to do bigger trainings at their school and stuff, they have the opportunity to do so. Then next Monday, I'm flying back to DC again to do trainings for my old school. They're having a digital and I'm just walking them through VR, and they're my first like flagship school to like, they will be the ones that are testing out everything for the students. And I hope to get different schools over the summer to commit to using the material. So it's just now getting everybody trained and comfortable with using the VR in their classrooms.
Yeah, so you're training teachers, administrators, primarily teachers, I assume.
Yep, all educators, just not to be afraid of the tech and to encourage kids. Because a lot of times, like the kid will say like, I want to use my phone, and they're like, no phones. And just trying to, with more information on what they can be used for, and like ground rules and guidelines, and it doesn't have to be a scary, no, you can't do that type of thing.
Well, how many schools you've got? You got one in DC that you're working with?
One in DC, where Manassas out in Northern Virginia, and then I have one that's in San Francisco. It is a program called Urban Ed Academy, and what they do is they go out and they recruit men of color to work with boys who are like at-risk boys, so they can have role models that kind of look like them. So I'll pop in and work with them every now and then too. And just looking for new schools. Like I said, when I started this, I really thought I was going to do, when you're like in 1st through 6th grade, you have cartoons. Everything's happy. You can find a cartoon. When you get into like older stuff, you're in like really boring documentaries. 7th through 12th grade. And then seeing younger and younger kids are like, I want to do it too. So it's just having to differentiate, if you will, the different videos so teachers can use it where they are.
Yeah, that's what's up. Hey, I really appreciate you like hanging out, chatting with me on a Friday. I just look forward to seeing what happens next. Maybe I'll have you back on the podcast after a while, and it'll be kind of an update, a part 2 on what's up with Curated.
Oh, I would love it. And then just to put a plug in your ear, one of the things I want to film are careers. So I'm hoping like I go to LA soon to film a curator out there and an artist, so people can actually see like their hands doing the work like they're doing it, and they can kind of get in the mindset of doing these jobs in these creative spaces earlier, and that it really is a job, and that's something to kind of shy away from.
Hey, that's dope. I'll probably have my students look into that if you do something related. Hey,
thank you so much, John.
Yeah, I appreciate your time, and have a good weekend too.
Thank you. You too.
Hey everyone, I appreciate you so much for listening. Drop a comment, let me know what you think. Share this with anyone you think would find this valuable.